Let's bring in Brigitte. Amazing. This feels like this is a perfect follow on from the conversation that was just being had as well. So I am going to hop on out of here and leave both of you to talk about softening into motherhood. Thanks, darlings.
Thank you, Zafaria. So you get more of me. It's a time zone thing because it is getting late in the evening here in the States. So I grabbed some of the first spots to share. And I am so excited to be talking to Brigitte about the womb spiral and what it's really gifted myself and you, I believe, in this way that we have shifted the way we relate to motherhood, the way we relate to our children. So like I said previously, I have two kiddos, 10 and 15. Your kiddos are a little bit older. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself since I've been chatting for the last half hour. I would love to invite you to share and yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and yeah, your relationship and your understanding and the impact the womb spiral had on your motherhood journey. Oh, you're muted. Hold on, let's see if we can get.
Oh, hello.
There we go. Okay, perfect. Sorry, we missed the beginning. Can you start over for us?
Yeah, sure. I love how I love how I was muted because there is something very symbolic about that in motherhood. And I love how that just happened. I feel like that was just a thread for me to start talking on, even though I'm not introducing myself. But you know, when I stepped into motherhood and I did step into the womb spiral, I was really in a place of feeling quite muted. And I had lost my voice for a very, very long time. And so I was caught in this pattern where I didn't feel safe to speak up. I didn't feel safe to be who I wanted to be, to name the things I wanted to name. And part of that showed up in being a mother. And so it played out in other ways, Jamy, as you were sharing, like this unconscious behavior that I had probably witnessed in times of my own life and my own childhood through other conscious behavior. Yeah. So yes, I am Brigitte. I am a woman, and I was feeling into what is it I want to share? Who am I? And what felt the most potent and the most important for me to share is that I am a woman who wants to consciously be in this world. Oh, I feel so deeply emotional right now. I want my children to know there's another way. I want them to be conscious in the world. I want them to feel embodied in themselves. I want them to feel safe to speak up and to be who they want to be, and know that I love them and care about them and will do anything for them to embody that in their lives. And if that means that I need to step back and allow them to take their own journey, if that they don't want to hear what I want to say, then that's me in honoring them. And if they want me to step up and be a part of their experience and contribute to that, then I will be there for them. But whatever it is, I sit here in a place of just honoring everything that they bring into the world, all their gifts and their jewels and their magic and their darkness and everything.
So beautiful. It's so true. I think even right now, there's a lot of shoulds in the world right now. There's a lot of loud opinions about what you should be doing as a mother, for your kids, education, you know, like we don't know what's happening with schooling and it's like everything is changing right now. And there are a lot of loud voices, opinionated voices about what you should be doing. And so it does become kind of scary, and you can get lost in the noise and all of the voices about what should be happening, when really we can tap into the wisdom of what is right and best for our individual children. Yeah, and this process of the womb spiral, I don't know about you, your kids are older. So for me, I'm kind of in the thick of it right now in raising two, a preteen and a teenager. And like you said, I really love what you just said about leaning in when they want and leaning out when they actually don't, and respecting their boundaries in that. I spent a lot of my parenthood in a lot of masculine energy and a lot of control, trying to manage, trying to figure things out, and reactivity. And, like I'd shared before, there was just a lot of fear driving it. So while I was offering a lot of freedom, there was still a lot of anxiety in my body around, am I doing it right? Is this going to be okay? And it was like after the womb spiral, there really was this softening and this opening to my children to actually feel them and not just be trying to raise them, but to develop an actual connection with them. My kids actually, we sat in the kitchen probably a week after I returned from my womb spiral retreat, the first time I went through it, and we all had a really good cry because my kids were like, you feel different, you feel softer, you feel like you're actually hearing us for the first time. And it changed our entire relationship from that point forward. Now we have conversations. I listen to them differently. I hear them differently because I'm not like in this contracted fear. Let me just listen to what's real for you and what's going on right now. And even when I start to swing out of it, it's like I know I now have this embedded resources to tap back into the anchoring and the groundedness of being able to listen and to feel them, and they can feel me now. It shifted everything. In fact, I even took their father, my partner, through the womb spiral with the intention of them also being able to connect and feel their father in the journey as well. So, so with older kids, I'm very curious because I'm not there yet, but I know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. I'm very curious, how this work and doing the work within yourself has allowed you to change the way you interact with and relate to and feel your adult children.
It's such a great question, and I feel like it's every second, every day is a new moment. And my kids are 22 and 20, so they've witnessed a lot of my life, and I feel like there is something in the witnessing. And quite a number of years ago, I made a decision to do something, to stand for myself. And what I knew to be true in that moment in time was that I was actually demonstrating to my children what happens when you stand up in your life. What happens when you take ownership of your decisions of how you want your life to look like. And I really, really trusted that. And so from that place, from those probably 6 years ago, I've been on this trajectory, which has brought me to the womb spiral. And I feel like, timing was everything. And even though I physically don't have a womb, my womb is alive. Like my womb space is alive, and I know my children can feel that. And I really deeply trust in myself. And I love everything that you and Zoe shared about trust, because trust in motherhood is like, we have to trust ourselves. And it is so challenging sometimes to rest in trusting and knowing that we've bloody got this. We know we have to ask for support. We know we have to, like, it takes a tribe to bring children up. We don't have to do this alone, and we're in so much isolation and so much, just doing things in this mindset of doing things alone. And it's like we don't have to do things alone, but we have to be able to find our voices. And I know my children have witnessed that, and I feel like it's really, really rested and sunk in. And I'm using all these words I don't usually use, so I don't know where they're coming from, but it's like they've really seen that there is a softening, that there is more conscious part of me that is
Yeah.
present. And they're
Yeah.
both in relationships. They're both in relationships. So I don't know what will happen with those relationships, but you know, I think they also know I don't always get it right.
Yeah.
I
You
have
know,
to,
that's one of the beautiful things about parenting, though, I think, is being able to model that, like that we are on this journey brand new, just the way that they are. You know, even if we've had multiple children, each child is different. So the journey is different. And so it's like, we are literally, you know, learning and exploring this together. I'm going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. And we can love each other through it. We can learn through them. And we can model that forgiveness for self. You know, it's like we can model being human. We can model being emotional. We can model not being muted. We can model being in our power. And like a big thing in our house, because I have two really strong children. And so in our house, this ability for all of us to be in our power simultaneously, like it isn't a power struggle. That it isn't, if I'm in power, then you have to submit or you have to listen, that there's this space for all of us to feel empowered, to speak our opinions. You know, like the work through the womb spiral really connected me to like that, the remembering of like, I am a powerful feminine force. I have, you know, like this magic within me. And I think before I tapped into that, a lot of things were scary and a lot of things felt personal. You know, it was like there was a lot of conditioning and a lot of things could like, oh gosh, you know, does that mean I'm doing it wrong? Does that mean I'm a bad mom? Does that mean, and it's like when I'm connected to my deep, embodied, innate power, I can speak my truth from love and not from reactivity. And I can create space for my kids to do the same. So they can say, Mom, I completely disagree with you. And it's beautiful. And it's a discussion and it's growth and it's, you know, all of these beautiful things versus conflict and you're grounded and go to your room. And, you know, it's like, what does your body tell you is best for you right now? Should you eat? What do you want to eat? Do you need rest? You know, it's like really guiding them back to themselves versus me trying to figure it all out for them. So yeah, I love that, you know, that piece that you brought in about, you know, being able to soften and to witness your children and that they can feel you more fully. And that includes your power, you know, that includes like the whole range of the journey.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, that's one of the things that I love about the womb spiral is that it has allowed me to really rest in that place of I've got this, even though I
Right.
don't always get it right. And
Yeah.
I'm actually okay. And I tell my children whenever, you know, things come up, I'd say, I don't always get this right. I'm just trusting in myself. And
Yeah.
I just really sit in that place of forgiveness, of not always getting it right. But the more I trust, the more I sink into my womb space, the more I feel trust in my body. I know
Yeah.
trust, I feel it. I trust that actually I've got this. My voice
Yeah.
is able to project, you know, there's a resonance in my voice that speaks of trust. And
Yes.
that, like, you know, we do voice work in the womb spiral, and because of that has allowed me to really anchor into that place of expression. And it is scary to speak up. I'm not going to, you know, like lie about it. It is.
Oh,
It's
completely. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what we're doing is demonstrating to our children, and I trust and hope that other women, when they watch this and see this, that can feel the resonance of our words from just us speaking. You
Yeah.
know, that's what I really work.
Yeah. Another big piece, I think that has opened up for me in this ability to kind of tap into the wisdom of my body, is that there really is, like, this is something that I share with my kids a lot. There is no right or wrong choice there are infinite choices and there are infinite outcomes, and we get to decide how we interpret the events that happen. You know, so it's like, even if something challenging happens, we don't label it as wrong. We're like, oh, what's this lesson? What is this here to teach us? Versus, I made a wrong choice. Because I think that that's a roadblock for a lot of parents. It's like, what if I get it wrong? What if I make the wrong choice for my kids? Versus teaching flexibility and resilience, that like, no matter what happens in our lives and in the world around us, we actually have innate wisdom in our bodies and resources within to learn and grow and evolve and mine something, you know, some gold from any experience. And when we take that pressure off of like getting it right or wrong, we really can soften more fully into the experience, because there isn't that kind of underlying question.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I think the other thing I really wanted to tap into that we had discussed earlier was the way that the inner child work that kind of comes along with this journey of womb spiral does for our relationship with our kids. Because, you know, we tend to almost have this amnesia between who we were when we were children, and then we can become parents, and all of a sudden it's like we're like our mothers or our fathers, or are conditioned what we're supposed to be as parents, and we forget what we needed when we were their age. You know, so I have a 15-year-old now and a 10-year-old. And when we come into conflict, I now can tap into my inner 15-year-old and my inner 10-year-old in a way that I couldn't before, because there was judgment. There was, you know, my own like resistance to those parts of myself. And now it's like I have so much love for those parts of myself that I can remember what she needed from her parents, what she needed from the world. And I can hold that space for my kids to help them feel supported in the journey, as opposed to perpetuating the struggle and the frustration and the distance in the relationship. So I would really love, because I know that inner child work is, you know, big for you, and that it's a big part of your work as well. So yeah, I would love to hear your take on that, how, you know, the work that we do really does tap into our inner child in a lot of ways, and how that's impacted grown children as well.
Yeah, I was sitting here going, we have to call on the child. We have to call on the child. She really wants to come and play today. So I'm really excited that you brought her forward, because I know you and I did talk about that. And I think I love that, how you were talking about that. Yeah, there is a big piece of forgiveness here.
Yeah.
And I think it begins, well, for me, it begins with forgiving our parents for they just did the best that they knew how, and that's all that they could do. And even though some of that may have been pretty yucky and really traumatic, I don't know, they had what they had. And so when I feel myself responding in a particular way that is not from the essence of love, I'm like, and sometimes that comes out way before I'm even there. Like, it's just out, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, so who is playing here right now? Like, who's in the driver's seat? And so for me personally, the inner child has been a huge piece of my work. You know, she's like, she lives in a teddy bear in my studio, and we're often talking in interaction. I know that kind of probably sounds funny to some people, but the more I nurture, like softening into motherhood, I feel really is softening into our inner child, paying attention to her. And every piece of work that I do in motherhood is about me healing my own inner child. It's about me nurturing her, taking care of her, allowing her space when she's really, I don't want to swear, but like really, really cross and angry. And I can feel her in my body. It's like she just wants to lash out and yell and scream. And it's like, whoo, hello, who is here today? But that piece is really big in parenting, because if our conditioning is to know that they're wrong, that this isn't right, that they don't have space to speak, that you know, aggression is really there and is very, very present. And if all of those things are present, and many, many more things, then we need to actually come back to our womb space. And when we tap into the womb space, and when I tapped into the womb spiral, this was one of the biggest healings for me, was to know that I have this. I'm the adult, you are the child, we journey together. I'm not in front of you, you're not behind me, I'm not dragging you along. We're here, we're playing in life together, and we're having fun, enjoying it, pain, good, bad, whatever it is.
Yeah. My kids actually acknowledge my inner child. So like for last Christmas, Rumi got me a little toy truck and some hair bows for my inner child, which was so sweet. And I just saw a memory on my timeline. Was shortly after I came back from the womb spiral retreat. I talked to them about, you know, discovering this part of myself that I had really repressed and ignored, you know, like she didn't have time. I didn't have time for her, which, you know, obviously translated into the time I had for my kids as well. But when I came back and I explained, you know, what was going on, that my inner child needed my love too. And that the fear that I had around messing up or creating damage was unhealed parts in projection to my own parents, you know? And so it's like coming into that healing. Rumi, my youngest, asked if my inner child wanted to go play at the trampoline park, you know? So it's like we do these fun, playful things that allow the inner child to come out too. And it's really fun to like have her acknowledged, you know, even in the relationship with my children. So yeah, Beck says that I love my inner child interacting with my granddaughters. Yeah, exactly. It is so beautiful. And it's like you get to reparent. We get to reparent our own inner child in the process. And it's a huge part, you know, I do a lot of parenting work, and that's a huge part of the process, is to heal that relationship with parents and to love the inner child the way that he or she needs to be loved in order to then extend that and reflect that forward.
Yeah, I feel like we live in families or we live in partnerships, but there's always, we don't come alone. We come with our shadows. We come with our inner children. And, you know, it's I've just finished my doula training, and it's one of the big things that I really feel is such an important part of supporting a woman to birth, and not just as she comes into birthing, it's post as well. It's like, you know, because, you know, I remember birthing children, it was like my inner child was screaming. There was so much going on, and she didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. I was all over the place. I feel like it's a very rich piece of our puzzle of coming into motherhood, softening into motherhood, being a mother, you know, all the places. It's such a rich space, and we deserve to give that to ourselves. We deserve to have that embodiment, to have the healing, to have the nurturing. And I think it's just such a big part of everything that we are. And it's not just about, I know we're talking about softening into motherhood in terms of giving birth, in having children, but this is also, you know, this is also connected to having a business. This is also being in a relationship, birthing all these things we want in our world. This isn't just about having children. This is about nurturing ourselves to be more embodied in our bodies, in who we are, so that we can birth something that we want for ourselves.
Absolutely. I think, you know, after doing the inner child work, I remember sitting in a restaurant once, and I literally was like, this place is a bunch of children in adult bodies. Like I could see the unhealed, unrecognized childhood trauma interacting versus a centered, present adult essence, you know? So it was like, wow, there's so many unacknowledged and unrecognized inner children walking around this planet, interacting in adult bodies. And even beyond that, you know, it's like we talk about inner child, but I think this also applies to shadow work, you know, really starting to acknowledge the parts that we have felt shame around, or that we really wanted to repress within ourselves because we were taught it was bad or inappropriate or whatever, really opens us to accept and honor and love and welcome those parts of our kids as well. And not just our kids, but our businesses, our partners, the people, our neighbors, you know, like the greater world around us as well. It just shifts the whole perspective. You know, we learn to love and accept ourselves, and it really, really on a visceral, like embodied level, not just I know I should, but like throughout my whole body, I know what it means, what the vibration feels like to feel love for someone that mentally I probably have some judgments and I have some frustration and some resistance too. And I can drop beyond that into like, and they're just doing their best. Like I love that ugly part of myself too, so I can love it in them. Yeah, and it's a game changer in a lot of big ways on all relationships. Is there any final piece of wisdom that you would like to share in regards to this journey and what it really does, especially in the world right now, in regards to motherhood or otherwise?
I think the last piece that I just wanted to drop around what you were just sharing is also around, you know, coming back to the inner child again, and about how by nurturing our inner child. So it's actually one of the reasons that I became an art therapist, because art, creativity so much embodies the inner child, and it allows them to come and play with us in our adult bodies. And so I feel like it's such a great way for us to speak to them.
Yes.
And it's a great way of integrating the pieces that we're struggling with within ourselves. So, you know, I use the art therapy, which is why I wanted to bring a piece today about that, is that it helps us to integrate. And integration is such an important piece of, you know, the embodiment of all this work. So yeah, just look, I love it all.
I do love that you love
talking to you.
I love that you well, I love that you use creativity to integrate. I think that is, for me, that was the major difference in this work. Is I'd done a lot of NLP, I'd done a lot of mental mindset, healing, energetic, kind of, you know, higher chakra stuff. And the womb spiral is really what allowed it to like viscerally come into my body at a vibrational level, so that I am walking in that truth versus trying to be that truth. You know, it became an integrated part of my physical body in a way that is unshakable in a lot of ways, you know. And so that's the beauty of the work. And I'm so excited to see your creative journey and the way that you really utilize that to integrate the work later on in the journey today. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with me about this today and sharing your perspective from older children as well.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here chatting with you. It's great. I love it.
I'm here. Thank you, darlings. That was just so beautiful. I am loving the wisdom that is coming through today. I mean, I obviously know everybody who's sharing, and I know you all very well. And then to hear the wisdom, to hear the pieces that are coming through, to really hear and feel how much everybody is sharing of their heart. I am feeling just very alive and lit up over here and covered in goosebumps, and just very, very excited by the day. So thank you so much to both of you for bringing your time and wisdom in. And so I am going to say goodbye to both of you for the moment. And we know we'll see you both soon. Oh, I think someone's saying goodbye. Yes, they are. Can I put this up? Here you go. So we've got a little thank you. Beautiful. So thank you both so much, ladies, and we will see you soon. Thanks, darlings.